Have you ever wondered what happens if you stop being sexually active in old age? Even just with yourself? It's one of those topics people whisper about or avoid altogether, like it's something to be ashamed of. But the truth is, it matters. More than you probably think. As we age, so much focus is put on our joints, our blood pressure, our memory, but no one really talks about what happens when we stop taking care of this deeply personal part of our health. And yet, so many seniors quietly deal with the consequences. Some feel a growing emptiness. Others notice their sleep changing, or their mood dipping, without realizing it's all connected. It's not just about desire or pleasure, it's about your entire well-being. You are not alone in wondering if this is normal, or if it even matters anymore. It does. And there's nothing unusual or strange about wanting to understand your body better, even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. In fact, asking these questions is a sign of wisdom. It's a sign that you care about your health, not just your physical strength, but your emotional peace, your mental clarity, and your inner sense of joy. So let's talk about it. Let's remove the fear and bring in the facts. Because there are real, scientific reasons to pay attention to what happens when sexual expression, including something as simple as self-pleasure, disappears from your life. In the next few minutes, we'll explore how this affects your hormones, your heart, your mood, and even how sharp your brain feels. We'll also talk about what you can do to stay healthy and comfortable, whether you choose to be sexually active or not. And just so we're clear, this isn't about being provocative. It's about being honest. It's about giving you the knowledge and power to make informed, compassionate decisions for yourself. Because your body still belongs to you, and it still deserves care, attention, and kindness. For generations, we've been taught to keep quiet about certain things, especially anything to do with sex. And once you reach a certain age, society sends an unspoken message. You're not supposed to care about that anymore. As if aging somehow erases your need for connection, touch, and comfort. But it doesn't. You don't suddenly stop being human just because your hair turns gray, or your body moves a little slower. This silence, this shame has deep roots. Decades ago, even young people weren't encouraged to talk openly about sex, let alone older adults. Cultural norms, religious beliefs, and family expectations all played a role in making it feel off-limits. So now many seniors carry that silence with them. They may feel embarrassed, even guilty, for wanting to touch themselves or explore pleasure. But here's the truth. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. You are still a whole person. You still have the right to enjoy your body, your thoughts, your feelings. Being a senior doesn't mean you become invisible, or that your needs no longer matter. In fact, many older adults report that their sense of sexuality becomes richer, more meaningful, and even more freeing with age. There's no pressure to impress, no racing hormones to control, just a deeper understanding of what feels good and why it matters. But when we don't talk about it, we miss out on more than pleasure. We miss out on health. Because sexuality isn't just about physical release. It's also about mental health, emotional well-being, and a deep connection with yourself. Masturbation, when done mindfully and without shame, can help reduce stress, improve sleep, regulate hormones, and even boost your immune system. It's a natural act, not a dirty secret. So let's break this old idea that you're too old to care. Let's toss out the shame that's been passed down, and start treating this as part of your overall wellness. You take your vitamins, you try to eat well, maybe you walk for your heart. But what about caring for this other part of you? The one that quietly asks for comfort, release, or simply a moment of joy. That part deserves attention too. You are not broken. You are not strange. You are simply human. And giving yourself permission to care for your body in this way is not just okay. It's healthy and often deeply healing. When we stop being sexually active, whether with a partner or through self-pleasure, the body doesn't just go quiet. It adapts, sometimes in ways we don't notice right away. But over time, those changes can begin to affect how we feel, how we sleep, and even how we move through the day. One of the first things that shifts is hormone production. Our bodies naturally slow down on things like testosterone and estrogen as we age, but sexual activity, including masturbation, helps stimulate and regulate those hormones. These aren't just about sex drive, they play a role in your mood, energy levels, and even how your body maintains muscle and bone strength. When you stop altogether, those hormone levels can dip even more, and that can leave you feeling sluggish, low, or just not quite like yourself. And then there's the pelvic floor, a group of muscles that supports your bladder, bowel, and for women, the uterus. These muscles rely on regular movement and stimulation to stay strong. Sexual activity keeps blood flowing to the area, keeps the tissues flexible, and encourages the muscles to stay active. Without that, those muscles can weaken, leading to more frequent trips to the bathroom, occasional leakage, or that frustrating feeling of pressure or heaviness down below. For men, going without regular sexual stimulation can increase the likelihood of erectile dysfunction. That's because erections rely on blood flow, and when the body stops practicing that process, it can start to lose some of that ability over time. It's like any other function: use it regularly and it stays sharp. Stop using it and it may start to fade. For women, something similar happens. Without arousal and stimulation, the vaginal walls can become thinner and less lubricated. That can make any kind of intimacy feel uncomfortable or even painful, which then discourages further activity, and the cycle continues. What's most important to understand is that these changes don't just affect sexual health, they influence your day-to-day comfort. A restless night's sleep, a sudden mood dip, or even a lack of energy to do the things you love can all be tied back, in part, to what's happening in your body when you stop tuning into this part of your health. Sexual arousal, even if it doesn't lead to orgasm, boosts circulation. It gets the blood moving, raises your heart rate a little, and releases endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals. That kind of movement and stimulation isn't just pleasurable, it's nourishing. It brings life back into the tissues that need it, and it tells your brain and body, I'm still here and I still matter. And you do matter. Every part of you. Taking the time to care for your sexual self isn't indulgent or inappropriate. It's one more way to stay healthy, connected, and fully alive. There's something powerful that happens in the brain when you experience sexual release. It's not just about the physical sensation, though that matters too. It's what follows that truly impacts your overall well-being. When you engage in sexual activity, even solo, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. These are the same natural substances responsible for feelings of happiness, calm, and emotional connection. Dopamine gives you that sense of reward, motivation, and pleasure. It's the same brain chemical that makes you smile after a good meal or a laugh with a friend. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, helps reduce stress and builds a feeling of emotional safety, even when you're alone. This chemical cocktail helps you feel more relaxed, more present, and more connected to yourself and the world around you. Now, when this part of your life gets shut down, either by choice, shame, or circumstance, your brain notices. Without that regular release, some people begin to feel a subtle but growing sense of disconnection. For others, it's more immediate: a rise in anxiety, a sense of loneliness, or that familiar gray cloud of depression creeping in. You may find yourself feeling irritable or down and not know exactly why. The truth is, when we go too long without tending to our emotional and physical needs, especially those tied to pleasure and comfort, it takes a toll. And this isn't about needing a partner or chasing some big romantic fantasy. It's simply about acknowledging that our minds, like our bodies, crave rhythm, release, and care. There are countless stories of seniors who have rediscovered self-pleasure later in life, and not just as a way to feel good in the moment, but as a way to feel more grounded and emotionally balanced. One woman in her late 70s shared that she felt her mood lifting after just a few weeks of giving herself permission to enjoy touch again. She said it was like turning a light back on inside. A gentleman in his 80s told his doctor that a quiet evening with soft music, warm tea, and time for himself helped ease the weight of his loneliness better than any prescription ever had. These stories aren't rare. They just don't get talked about enough. Because for so long people assume that sexuality fades with age. But what often fades first is the permission we give ourselves to explore and feel. When you reclaim that space, even gently, even slowly, you may notice changes beyond the physical. Your sleep may deepen. Your thoughts may feel less scattered. You might feel calmer, more centered, even more hopeful. Pleasure isn't just a bonus. It's part of our design. It helps regulate emotions, relieve stress, and promote clarity. It reminds your nervous system that you're safe, alive, and deserving of peace. In a world that sometimes feels overwhelming, Creating that kind of safety from within is not just valuable, it's vital. The brain is a living, breathing organ, not just a container for memories or a control center for your body. It thrives on stimulation, and not just through puzzles or reading or conversation. Physical sensation, especially the kind that comes through sexual activity, also plays a vital role in keeping your mind active and resilient. When you engage in self-pleasure, your brain lights up, literally. Areas related to sensory awareness, memory, emotion, and even problem-solving become more active. This kind of stimulation keeps the neural pathways sharp. Think of it like giving your brain a gentle workout, one that encourages blood flow, heightens awareness, and triggers the release of chemicals that support healthy brain function. Over time, consistent, healthy sexual activity has been linked with better memory recall, increased focus, and even slower cognitive decline. That might sound surprising at first, but when you consider how much the brain and body are connected, it makes sense. Arousal and orgasm activate multiple systems at once: neurological, hormonal, circulatory, and all of these work together to keep the brain well-nourished and engaged. It also comes down to the importance of touch. As we age, we often lose some of the regular, everyday physical contact we once had: hugging loved ones, dancing, even just brushing up against someone in a crowded room. When that stops, the nervous system can begin to quiet down in ways we don't always notice. Self-touch, especially the kind that brings pleasure, helps keep that system awake. It reminds your body and your brain that you're still present, still deserving of comfort, still deeply human. There's a long-standing myth that older adults should be conserving energy by avoiding any kind of exertion, including sexual activity. But the science tells a different story. Healthy, moderate sexual expression, on your own or with a partner, actually supports your energy levels. It reduces stress hormones, improves circulation, and promotes deeper sleep, all of which help your brain function more clearly during the day. Avoiding this part of yourself in an effort to save energy is like letting a car sit too long in the garage. Sure, it's not using gas, but over time the battery dies, the tires flatten, and the engine stops working as smoothly. Your mind, like your body, is built to move, to feel, to experience. You don't need to push yourself. You just need to stay gently connected to the parts of yourself that bring you peace, joy, and presence. Cognitive health isn't just about brain games or green vegetables. It's also about honoring your full self, including the parts that still crave sensation, warmth, and release. And when you do that, you may find that your mind feels just a little sharper, your mood a little lighter, and your days a little brighter. One of the biggest reasons many older adults stay silent about their sexual needs is fear, quiet, lingering fears that have been shaped by years of messages from family, religion, or culture. You may ask yourself, is this wrong? Is it something I should be ashamed of? But here's the truth. There's nothing shameful about wanting to feel good in your body. There never was. Those feelings are not signs of weakness or sin. They're signs of life, of being human, of still being connected to yourself in a meaningful way. Religious and cultural traditions can carry strong messages about sexuality, especially when it comes to age. But many of those teachings were designed in a time when pleasure was misunderstood or even feared. What we know now, what science and medicine affirm, is that honoring your body and caring for your full self isn't just healthy, it's deeply respectful. It's not about rebellion or rejection, it's about self-acceptance. And if your beliefs are important to you, it's worth asking, is kindness to your body truly against those values, or could it be an act of gratitude for the life you've been given? Another common fear sounds like this: what if someone finds out? It's a real worry, especially if you live with others, have caregivers around, or rely on family for support. But privacy is not something you lose as you age. You still deserve personal space, dignity, and the freedom to care for yourself in ways that bring you peace. That might mean finding quiet moments when you're alone, locking your bedroom door, or simply setting gentle boundaries with those around you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to nurture your well-being. For some, the challenge isn't guilt or privacy. It's that the urge itself feels distant. I just don't feel it anymore, you might think. But desire isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, buried under years of stress, loss, or just being too busy caring for others. It can return in unexpected ways: a moment of stillness, a warm bath, a memory that makes you smile. Reconnecting with your sensuality doesn't mean forcing anything. It means being open to gentle curiosity. You can start by simply noticing how your body responds to comfort, to music, to your own touch. Let it be slow. Let it be yours. And yes, sometimes your body changes in ways that make intimacy feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. That's perfectly normal. The good news is, there are many ways to ease back into comfort. Warmth helps, like a cozy blanket or a heating pad to relax your muscles. Lubricants can reduce friction and make everything feel more natural. Gentle breathing, soft lighting, soothing sounds, these small details matter. They tell your body, it's safe to enjoy this. It's safe to feel again. Awkwardness is also part of the process, and it's okay. Think of it like trying to dance after years off the floor. The steps may feel rusty at first, but with kindness and patience, your body remembers. And more importantly, your heart remembers how to relax, how to smile, how to feel alive. Feeling safe, relaxed, and respected in your space is one of the most important steps toward reconnecting with your sensual self. You don't need an elaborate setup, just a calm, private environment where you won't feel rushed or interrupted. That could mean closing your bedroom door, drawing the curtains, or simply choosing a time of day when the house is quiet. This small act of creating space tells your nervous system, you can breathe now. You're safe here. Hygiene is another piece often overlooked, but it's essential. Not just for physical comfort, but for emotional ease. Clean hands, fresh linens, and using the restroom beforehand can help you feel more at ease and in control. It doesn't have to be clinical, just thoughtful. A warm shower or bath beforehand can also relax your muscles and ease any stiffness or tension in your joints, making the whole experience smoother and more enjoyable. As we age, our bodies don't always respond the way they used to, and that's perfectly natural. One simple, effective tool many seniors benefit from is lubrication. As estrogen or testosterone levels drop, natural moisture can decrease, which might lead to discomfort. A good quality, unscented, water-based or silicone-based lubricant can make all the difference. It helps reduce friction and allows you to focus on sensation rather than worry. Don't think of it as something to be embarrassed by. Think of it as giving your body the support it needs to thrive. For those curious about adding a bit of variety, there are tools and devices, yes, toys that are designed with aging bodies in mind. Some are small and discreet, offering gentle vibrations or pressure to awaken areas that might have become a little less responsive. Others are specifically shaped to support those with arthritis or reduced mobility. There's no shame in exploring options that work for you. Just like using a walking cane or reading glasses, these tools are there to help you live more comfortably and fully. Now let's talk about mindfulness, because self-pleasure isn't just physical. It can also be a deeply soothing mental practice. Taking slow, conscious breaths, letting your awareness settle in your body, noticing how each touch feels without judging or rushing. This is a form of meditation. When you approach self-touch with intention, it becomes less about reaching a goal and more about honoring yourself in the present moment. That presence alone can bring healing. Pelvic health is also something many seniors overlook until problems arise, like incontinence or discomfort while sitting. Gentle stimulation, whether from your own hand, a soft massager, or even breathing exercises that engage the lower abdomen, can help maintain circulation, tissue elasticity, and muscle tone in that area. Just as walking helps keep your legs strong, mindful stimulation helps keep your pelvic floor responsive and healthy. And remember, for those in relationships, intimacy doesn't have to mean intercourse. It can be quiet cuddling, mutual massage, sharing stories while lying close, or simply holding hands and breathing together. Emotional connection often grows deeper with age, and finding new ways to express love and closeness can be just as satisfying, sometimes even more so, than anything physical. You don't have to chase what once was. You can create what now is. With the right space, a little preparation, and a spirit of self-kindness, pleasure can become not just possible, but deeply nourishing. Not everyone feels the pull towards sexual activity in later years, and that's completely okay. There's no rulebook that says you should want to masturbate, or that you need to reignite desire if it's simply not there. For some, this decline in sexual interest is a natural shift that comes with aging, and it doesn't mean anything is broken or wrong. In fact, for a portion of older adults identifying as asexual, or simply content without sexual expression, is a healthy and authentic part of who they are. What matters most is that your choices feel right to you. If you don't feel the urge and there's no longing behind it, then that is your truth. And that truth is just as valid as someone else's decision to reconnect with their sensuality. It's all about listening to your body without judgment or pressure. Self-acceptance means honoring not just what we desire, but also what we don't. That said, there are times when certain health conditions may make masturbation either uncomfortable or medically inadvisable. For example, individuals recovering from recent surgeries, especially those involving the heart, pelvic area, or spine, might need to wait until their doctor clears them for physical exertion of any kind. Conditions like advanced arthritis, pelvic floor disorders, or neurological conditions might also create complications, depending on severity. It's always wise to speak with a healthcare provider you trust. There's no shame in asking questions about your body, even ones that feel personal. In fact, it shows courage and care. Still, even when traditional sexual expression isn't possible or preferable, there are countless other ways to connect with yourself and others on a deep, satisfying level. Emotional and physical intimacy can come in many forms. Gentle hand-holding, laying close while listening to music, sharing a slow meal, or even spending time in quiet companionship. These small acts of connection speak to the same parts of us that long for closeness, affirmation, and affection. And when it comes to pleasure, let's expand the definition. Pleasure isn't limited to arousal. It's anything that brings you peace, joy, or a sense of being alive. A soft blanket wrapped around your shoulders. A warm cup of tea sipped slowly in the early morning light. The scent of a favorite lotion, massaged gently into your skin. The weight of a pet resting on your lap. These moments matter. They awaken your senses, soften your mind, and remind you that you are still deserving of tenderness, even if it doesn't come in the way it used to. What's important isn't how you find that connection, but that you remember it's still yours to seek. Whether through touch, companionship, memory, or stillness, you can still experience comfort. You can still feel at home in your body, and that, regardless of what form it takes, is a kind of pleasure that should never be underestimated. After her husband passed away, Margaret didn't think about touch for years. She was 68 then, and grief filled every corner of her life. The idea of intimacy, especially with herself, felt foreign, even a little wrong. That part of my life was over, she used to say. But something shifted in her early 70s. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just quietly. One evening, after a long bath and a soft piece of music playing in the background, she sat still and realized she missed feeling close. Not necessarily to someone else, but to herself. She started small, just letting her hands rest on her skin, breathing slowly, noticing how her body felt when she gave it gentle attention. I didn't even know if it would feel like anything, she told her friend later. But it did. It felt like coming home. Over time, she noticed she slept better. Her sadness softened. And most surprising of all, she started to smile more during the day, not because of any big change, but because she was finally caring for all of herself again. Then there's Robert, who always thought of self-pleasure as something only for the young. Men don't talk about these things, he said with a shrug. After turning 75, he noticed more frequent tension in his shoulders, trouble falling asleep, and what he called a gray feeling. Not sadness exactly, just a sense that the color had drained from his days. At a routine checkup, his doctor, who he trusted deeply, gently brought up the topic of sensual touch and its benefits. Even later in life, Robert was skeptical, but curious. So he gave it a try, at first awkwardly, but with a sense of humor about the whole thing. He focused less on performance and more on the sensation of warmth, the way his chest rose and fell with each breath, the quiet comfort of his own company. Within weeks, his sleep improved, and more importantly, so did his mood. I didn't realize how disconnected I'd become, not from others, but from myself. This helped me remember I still matter. And there's Jeanette, 80, who lives in an assisted living community. She doesn't feel drawn to masturbation these days, but she's found joy in giving herself gentle hand massages with lavender oil every night. It's not about sex, it's about kindness, she says. About reminding my body that I still care. Her simple ritual has become a part of her daily life, a quiet act of self-respect that brings her peace before bed. These aren't stories of wild reinvention or dramatic change. They're stories of rediscovery, of learning to listen to the quiet needs of the body and heart. They show us that intimacy, pleasure, and connection don't disappear with age. They evolve. They become softer, more intentional, more rooted in who we are beyond roles or expectations. And in that way, they become more meaningful than ever. Your health isn't just about blood pressure, cholesterol numbers, or how fast you can walk around the block. It's about how you feel when you're alone with yourself. When the world gets quiet and you're left with your own thoughts, your own breath, your own skin. That's the part of health we don't talk about enough. The emotional, sensual, deeply personal side that doesn't show up on a medical chart, but shapes how fully you live your life. You've lived through decades of change, loss, love, and learning. And in all of that, your body has been your companion. It may have slowed down, grown softer, or moved differently than it once did, but it's still yours. It still deserves gentleness. It still responds to kindness. And it's never too late to care for it in ways that bring you ease and comfort. Don't let outdated ideas or shame steal this part of your well-being. There's no rule that says pleasure is only for the young, or that growing older means giving up what once made you feel alive. If anything, this chapter of life is an invitation to redefine what pleasure means for you. On your terms, in your time, with no apology. Talk to your doctor if you're unsure about what's safe. Be honest with yourself about what feels good, what feels awkward, and what you might want to try. You don't have to rush anything. You don't have to prove anything. Just start with curiosity, and maybe even a little compassion for the body that's carried you through so much. Whether you choose to explore this path or simply reflect on it with a new understanding, know this. You are not alone, you are not strange, and you are absolutely not broken. You're human. You're aging. And you're still worthy of every bit of joy, comfort, and connection your body and spirit are able to feel. Was this eye-opening for you? If it stirred something inside, curiosity, comfort, maybe even a little relief, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with a friend, someone you care about who might be feeling isolated or unsure. These conversations may feel uncomfortable at first, but they're how we begin to replace silence with support. And if you feel moved to share your thoughts, your story, or even just a kind word, leave a comment. We're building something special here. A place where seniors can speak freely, ask honest questions, and be met with dignity and understanding. No judgment. Just truth, warmth, and community. You deserve to feel good, not just in body but in spirit. You deserve to feel whole, to reconnect with yourself, and to know that your needs still matter. No matter your age, you are still human. And being human means craving touch, connection, and care. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourself, gently, patiently, and with the respect you've more than earned.